On this week's Audiobook Club, The Sandman, Act 3.
Gods come and gods go. Mortals flicker and flash and fade. Worlds don't last. Stars and galaxies are transient, fleeting things that twinkle like fireflies and vanish into cold and dust. But when the first living thing drew breath, he was there, waiting, with his siblings. The endless. When the last living thing has left this universe, their task will be done. His realm is the dreaming, the world of sleep and imagination. He is Dream, Lord Morpheus, and he must learn to change or die.
The Sandman, an Audible original. Produced in association with DC, from the DC Comics publications, written by Neil Gaiman. Dramatised and directed for audio by Dirk Maggs. Based on characters created by Neil Gaiman, Sam Keith, and Mike Dringenberg.
Hello, I'm Steve Phillips and welcome to another episode of Audiobook Club, a podcast that does exactly what it says on the tin. On this episode, we'll be prostrating ourselves before the brand new third instalment of the biggest and baddest audio, and joining me down the line to do that from Adelaide in Australia, it's Matt Layton. I can see you're prostrating yourself already, Matt. That's very good. Please get up.
I apologise for my terrible script writing, Steve. I obviously wrote prostating, which is something else that happens to a man of my age. And you read straight through it, as usual, correcting it. The biggest and baddest audiobook series of all time, it was also meant to say at the end. So I apologise for starting off by nobbling you, basically.
Not at all. I'm just really pleased we managed to get the word prostate in so early on in the episode this week.
And nobbling.
And, yes, of course, an honourable mention to nobbling. Do write in and tell us if you want other mentions of nobbling at some point. I don't know where I'm going with this, actually. We shall move on. We'll press on very, very quickly, eh? So, The Sandman.
This is our biggest show of the year, really, isn't it, Steve? This is the only time that you and I have read all three books of a series, and we love them. They are probably the most expensive audio books ever produced. Incredible casts, lavish production, and they set up a whole new world that defies description. The material is based on a series of graphic novels written by Neil Gaiman for DC in the 1990s. And that visual material has been taken and interpreted and made into an audio movie for your mind, or now 3 audio movies for your mind, by the genius that is Dirk Maggs, who is, in most people's opinion, the greatest audiobook producer in the world. Have I summed that up okay, Steve?
Yeah, I don't think that's prostrating too much, really. I think that's pretty much fair. And do you know what? It's the first time, when I first listened, and I mentioned this on the only other time we've done a podcast about the same book, by the way, is that when I first heard it, driving in my car, coming out of Calais, to a holiday in France, and I hadn't been drawn into this genre like this since I was a kid. I'm not kidding. It was just a complete assault, both technically, the way it sounded, and the plot as well. Straight into the action. And actually, I felt the similar with Act 3 as well, which we can get into.
Yeah, again, if you remember, I found it difficult to get into Act 2. I am not familiar with the genre. graphic novels in particular, as Richard Osman put it, my eyesight's not all that it could be. So squinting at little pictures and reading the tiny words, I'm afraid the genre has passed me by. The form has passed me by. So I came to this as a total newbie. I was definitely, during the first two books, have been overwhelmed by this incredible production, that it is the biggest audio book that's ever been made. Fact. But this time, I wish someone had sat me down and given me a 30-second rundown of what it's all about before you get dropped into that opening scene that we've just heard. So the intro to the book does a really good job of explaining it, but you're so busy listening to Neil Gaiman's voice and the lavish orchestration and the sound effects that I, as someone who is not familiar with the material, perhaps missed a lot because I was too busy looking at the shiny things. Dirk Maggs said when he spoke to us, interview available on audiobookclub.net on YouTube and as a podcast, please do go and have a listen after this, that it was a really difficult balance because a lot of people are really, really attached to this material and they're going to jump into it and their visual world has been turned into an audio world. But for someone like me, I was just dumped in the audio world and it was big and amazing and it felt like a universe. But I could have done with perhaps a dummy's guide to this enormous universe that Neil Gaiman has created. And Dirk Maggs, again, I haven't said this the last 3 times we've made shows about this series, that Dirk Maggs clearly loves this material and cares about it. We've talked about all his technical wizardry, his casting, his direction. In fact, if you can muck around with episode 2 and just listen to the recording of a Shakespeare play they made in the background. There's so much going on. But because there's so much going on, I don't necessarily think I grasped who everybody was and why for the first time. Am I alone here, Steve?
No, you're not. You're not.
Nice,
I just had to.
Nice pause. It's like, am I alone here, Steve? And then just silence.
Yes, he is, listener. No, I had to mute my microphone because my dog was scratching her bed. As spaniels do, to sort of flatten the grass so they can lay down, but it was quite noisy.
Right, Steve, I presented you with Neil Gaiman's entire universe of the everlasting and story, and you're talking about your dog scratching its bed. Please come back to the room. Focus, please, Steve.
I will say, I'm sure Dirk would agree with me that actually achieving the sound effect of dog scratching dog bed was something, even he maybe not be able to achieve. I should have actually left my microphone up there, so sorry about that golden moment that everyone's missed out on.
Dirk at least is still talking to you.
Well, I'll talk about that in just a moment.
I can't wait.
A little bit longer, but the
balance of fans versus noobs. I was a noob. Retrospectively looking back at it, I wish I had, as I say, had a just a little bit of somebody to sit me down and say, this is what this is about for 30 seconds, and hopefully we'll be able to do that. Did you feel the same way, or were you familiar enough with what was going on?
No, I was not familiar. I was at the same starting point of you. I'd never read the comics. I'd never heard of the Sandman, except you must download this. I knew Dirk Maggs' stuff from Hitchhikers, so that was actually a draw, was the fact that he'd made it. Neil Gaiman, I love his storytelling. I loved Good Omens because I watched Good Omens. I watched Good Omens. I'm a Doctor Who fan. He wrote a great Doctor Who episode called The Doctor's Wife, which was brilliant, and I got drawn in through those avenues really. And I just thought, well, Neil Gaiman. You look at the cast, you look at who's produced it, and you just think, hang on a second, this is just nuts. You look, even the artwork looks like a movie poster. And so in terms of the story, and I think it actually comes down to, obviously the sound design is amazing. Obviously, the cast are incredible. Neil Gaiman has got a fantastic voice for narration. However, it all comes down to the storytelling and the adaptation. And it's the simple storytelling you've got to follow. So Act 1, I was blown away by what I was hearing, but it took me probably 5 to 10 minutes to understand what was happening and the relevance of it. That was Act 1. Once I was in, I was hooked. Act 2, I was... The beginning of it was probably a little bit not high-minded or highfalutin, but it was I think we were into the... So, two things. We were into the action. We were into the action in Act 1 with obviously the capture of Morpheus whilst being, whilst Burgess was trying to bind Death. Straight into the action there, and you could follow. It was a really simple storyline. After that, he was kept there for 100 years, never spoke and what have you, just biding his time until he was able to be free again. Then it was easy to follow. Act 2, possibly not so much actually for me, but Act 3, again, we were straight. Are we allowed to do? What about the spoiler thing? Are we allowed to do the spoilers?
I have spent time thinking about this, and I've got a thing where I'm not going to spoil anything, I don't think, but there are certain parts of the story where there are characters' names mentioned. He draws on all of literature and all of myth, and there are names that are in there where you vaguely know and have a subconscious understanding. So if you're thinking about Orpheus, I think you can say what happens to him at the beginning, if you see what I mean.
Okay, well, that's perfect then, so I will in that case.
It is evening in the temple garden. The wedding feast is over, the revels have begun, and Aristeas' wineskin is empty.
Hey, more wine! Where's another skin of wine?
Over here, Aristeas.
The endless have all departed, save Morpheus and Death, neither of whom are dancing. The only other exception is Orpheus, who sits accompanying the musicians on his lyre, a pile of full wineskins by his side.
So you're straight into the action. There wasn't very long before okay, yes, we're at a wedding of Morpheus' son, Orpheus. I can't remember the character's name, the person he was getting married to. Anyway, you're straight into the action there because immediately she wanders off for a second. She gets followed by one of the wedding guests, and the wedding guest basically says, "Oh, I haven't had a woman for a long time," and she's like, "No, go away." And then she treads on a snake and it kills her through the poison.
You're drunk. Please, let go of my arm. Aristeas.
I want you.
You're hurting me.
It's been so long since I had a woman.
Please. The wine has scattered your wits.
I want you.
No!
Oh, please, come back.
Leave me alone!
Eurydice runs, panicking, away from the temple grounds towards the forest.
I wasn't going to hurt you. Truly.
Go away!
I'm drunk. I didn't mean...
She does not see the snake before she treads on it.
Oh no.
The snake defends itself, as snakes will.
Please! You won't tell anyone? Will you? Eurydice. Oh.
And that was in the first 10 minutes, it felt like. And then you're straight into him just being the husband, having just got married, being utterly broken with grief, and the lengths he went to try and get his wife back, bring her back to the living world.
I remember a Ladybird book called Orpheus and the Underworld. So as soon as you say Orpheus, to me, I get the bloke's probably going to... I knew that he was... he played a liar, and I knew roughly what was going to happen, but this is Neil Gaiman's version of that. And yes, you're straight into the story. Again, I find myself a lot of times... My level of understanding of the Orpheus myth is still very much at the Ladybird level, as is my understanding of some of the other source material in here. I don't think Orpheus was ever son of Morpheus. So you can see that in Gaiman's universe, these strange blurring of myth that you know and his stories combined. So look, I'm going to start at the beginning. Here's the bit that I wanted to say, Steve. that in a way we've already heard in this show because it was the clip we played at the beginning. The book is all centered around Morpheus, who is Dream. He is one of the everlasting. He and his siblings were here as soon as the lights went on in the universe. Planets, gods, solar systems all die, but they are still there. Human beings' lives are even smaller than that. But they're called the everlasting. There are 6 siblings. They are everlasting. How many of those siblings can you name without cheating and looking at the script?
Okay, so death, desire, delirium, used to be delight.
You're looking at the script.
I'm not. I am not. Obviously, dream. There was. What does it say on the script?
I've put it in a faded.
Despair. Despair. Oh, Miriam Margolyes. Just incredible. Destruction. I think that was basically.
Okay, so death, delirium used to be delight, desire, despair, destiny, destruction, and dream. In fact, let me count them: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, that's good. So all of these D words, which are huge concepts, and didn't Mr. Gaiman get lucky there that they should all begin with D? If you think of them as concepts, they death, destruction, desire can be seen as these sort of archetypal powers. They're all represented by, in human form almost. So in Neil Gaiman's universe, Neil Gaiman is the god in the universe. It is great that he narrates the books. His main character is Morpheus, Dream. In previous books, we've met Death, who just comes across as a rather than the black hooded, scythe-wielding, skeleton-faced notion that we're all used to, is in fact a teenage goth girl who takes people off at the end of their life. Delirium, who I don't think we've met before in as much detail as we do this time. She used to be called Delight, then she went crazy. Desire is a they and attractive to both males and females, and during this book, indeed, there are men who are convinced it's a woman and women who are convinced that it's a man. Dirk Maggs, when he was on, pointed out that Neil Gaiman's grasp on gender issues in the late 80s and 90s when he wrote the books was way ahead of its time. Despair, destiny, destruction. And destruction for me, it just made me smile. David Harewood, the actor, who I only know from Homeland, and once when I met him and interviewed him, just choose scenery. He has a big booming voice in the traditional sense, and he's very, very, very actory.
He is great.
I wish people had explained that to me. I wish I'd had that basic grasp of the characters before I went into this. And as I say, we've heard the bit that actually explains that at the beginning of this, but you're too busy listening to the sound effects, the orchestration, Neil Gaiman's voice to actually, or I was, to actually pick up on the words. There are 19 episodes, they're called, in this. I don't know if they correlate directly to individual issues of the graphic novel, which came out over a number of years. It doesn't really matter. There are 3 big stories in here. The Song of Orpheus, which we've talked about.
Can I just, before you move on to the other stories, can I just quickly clear up just before, in case we do get any messages, that it was Eurydice was the bride-to-be and became the bride who was killed, and Aristeus was the guy who tried to approach her and divert her and made her tread on a snake. So I did know the characters' names because I've read the accompanying PDF.
No, yeah, we'll come back to that in a minute, actually. I want to talk to you about that. So there's the Orpheus story, which is very good, and I think Orpheus, my Ladybird book, Orpheus in the Underworld, Orpheus was told he could have his wife back from the dead If he walked out without looking behind him, he looked behind him and lived a life of sorrow. Neil Gaiman has upped his life of sorrow and he lives as a disembodied head in a temple protected by 3 generations of Greek guards. I don't think that's a spoiler, Steve. I think it's something that it makes it easier to understand when you hear it. Do you think that needs a spoiler warning in the podcast description, or?
Yes, we do. I think we do need a spoiler one. But this material, this story from Neil Gaiman has obviously been around for some years. But if you are new to it, I was completely new to it. Just quickly on your point about with Act 3 and being blown away by the sound design and everything, and not being concentrating on the words. I didn't find that this time because I know what I was expecting, I think. So actually I was quite into the story. It was like welcoming back an old friend in terms of the sound design and the hearing of it.
Yes, I would agree. And if we ever finish talking about this, which is unlikely knowing you and me, I think at the end we should say, do start with chapter 1. Even if you've just heard this podcast, do start with Act 1. But perhaps listen to the last 3 minutes of what we did. It'll make it easier to get in there for you.
Yeah, completely. The other point I was just going to make, you mentioned about the severed head, and I think actually the description of how Orpheus came to be separated, divorced from his body, and from the narrator Neil Gaiman. You hadn't had the experience of graphic novels. And graphic novels, this is what I did a dissertation on when I was at university, by the way. I did a dissertation on violence in comics, comparing the Beano to anime and manga and graphic novels. And when you look at the images of the graphic novels, this is what I really... And actually, the same, we talked to Dirk Maggs about it as well, in Act 1, was the description and also the sound effects of really... freaking grim stuff,
So I was digging for clips to pepper the show with, and you always want to find something where Dirk Maggs has put together something that is so visceral using sound only. I'm not convinced that that's the standout, make you shrivel up in reaction to just how gory it is. Even though you're using sound only, that's the most, as I say, the bit that really comes to life. I'm not sure if it would be appropriate to play that clip in its entirety for a family audience.
Yeah, we have to be careful. Yeah, we do. We have to be careful.
Take him! No!
Clubbed by the priestess, Orpheus has fallen to his knees. The women strike him with their heavy wooden sticks, ripping off his robe. One sinks her teeth into his arm. Then they are all over him and he disappears under the frenzied mob.
That whole, I can't, from Act 2 actually, when he was talking about the fleshlock, and we talked about that before, didn't we? That was absolutely disgusting, that sound, but it couldn't have been anything else except a fleshlock,
And it turned out to be the sound of a bucket of putty or something.
Yeah.
Just quickly, let's get to this so we can discuss it. There are 9 chapters of it that follow a story called Brief Lives. There are a couple of shorter chapters that are themed but could live on their own separately in between. And then the last 6 chapters fall under the title of World's End. And interestingly, Neil Gaiman, who for the first 2.5 acts of this 3-act series has been the god of this universe and not a human being who you would talk to in a pub. He's loftier than us. He comes on and goes, "Hello, it's Neil Gaiman here." And basically...
That's exactly what he says, isn't it? That's exactly, yeah.
It's almost exactly what he says.
Mr. Gaiman, I didn't know you would kindly joining our podcast this week with those words.
And basically he says, right, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not the god in this universe. But fortunately, in the British storytelling tradition, we have this mechanism which goes back to Chaucer's Canterbury Tales. And they didn't do a Ladybird version of Canterbury Tales, Steve, so I didn't know what the hell was going on. But it seems to be an interwoven network of stories within stories, people telling stories about stories, interwoven with dreams. And it is, of course, kind of corralled by the main story, which is told by the person that it happened to, who is Will Wheaton, who we best know as the narrator of Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. So he's got some audiobook chops.
Wow.
You're allowed to disagree with me on who Will Wheaton is.
No, not at all. I don't think I'm familiar with Will Wheaton.
Right. Okay. You genuinely didn't know.
I didn't want to lose more points by saying, "Oh yeah, some bloke got married to another bloke."
You didn't. I tell you what, you lost points with. You didn't say. No, he's not. Is Wesley Crusher from Star Trek?
Oh, I know Wesley Crusher from Star Trek. Of course, yes. I'm not a Trekkie. Yeah, I should have paid more attention there. Yes, Will Wheaton.
Oh, he's kind of like a science fiction Doogie Howser.
Yeah.
His voice is broken now.
Well, that's a relief. It is 2022. Yeah.
I really enjoyed that part of it. I didn't feel I needed Neil Gaiman coming on to tell me that he wasn't going to be there. I was immersed enough in it that I enjoyed those last 6 chapters. It's an interesting thing, again, that Dirk Maggs said to us. A lot of the description, a lot of the pictures that appear in your head are because Neil Gaiman is describing his universe. He is God in this universe. But I didn't feel the need for him to break the fourth wall. I would quite happily have listened to those 6 stories, and I'm not attached to the narrative structure of the Canterbury Tales, but I didn't necessarily feel I needed that. But again, that's a personal point of view.
That's fair enough.
Dirk Maggs, did you say you'd sent him an email?
Yes, so it's going back to the sound design piece on it. So at the very beginning of the audiobook from Audible, before it even starts, it says, with some amazing kind of sound effects that just sort of swirl around your head, Audible 3D. Now, this, I don't know about you, this is the first time I've ever heard this. I've not had anything from Audible that's anything else that's been in 3D. I mean, it's quite difficult, I guess, when it's just sort of, narrator narrating a straight audiobook. But it immediately sort of thought, well, what exactly does that mean? I mean, you heard of Apple spatial music, you listen to, this spatial audio concept they've come up with. So this morning, because obviously we were recording today, I emailed Dirk, and oh man, he's such a nice guy, isn't he? He is. I almost feel like in the manner of the audiobooks themselves, I almost feel like I should be singing like a choir of angels as you open the letter. As you unwind the scroll, I'm going to go, oh. Yes, indeed. Yes, the golden glow.
Yes, the Robert Downey suitcase golden glow, yes.
I mean, I don't want to come across as sycophantic. I think we've avoided that by only doing
that ship has sailed.
Only doing 40 minutes of praise or whatever. But I have to say, I emailed him and just sort of, obviously told him what I thought of Sandman 3 and how awesome it was. And I asked him the question about what is 3D. I don't want to. I mean, I'm probably being a massive, a bit sort of dense here, and it's probably all over the net. But I did a search on the net about what Audible 3D is. Slightly annoying actually when you want to search something about it, and you get, the top link is Audible from audible.com, and it talks about Audible 3D. When you click on it, it just takes you through to the blooming catalogue again. No, buy our stuff. So it would have been nice to have the explanation from there. But so I just thought, why not email Dirk? And he came back literally with like 6 minutes later. It was really nice of him to go with quite a detailed reply, actually. So I can explain, in the words of Dirk Maggs, about 3D audio. And he's very busy as well at the moment, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's got a couple of things on.
Yeah, so anyway, so I hyped it enough.
He probably doesn't have the time to listen to you wittering. Can you get to the bloody email,
I will
please?
do. He said, "Hi, Steve. A quickie replies, I'm off base. The spatial mix was made in Dolby Atmos, then bounced down to Atmos's binaural simulation, which can effectively be distributed as a stereo download under Audible's existing distribution system." And he also anticipated a question that he thought I might ask. I think he might take me for being slightly more clever than I actually am, which I really appreciated again, What a nice guy. He said, the next question you'll ask is, when will a full Atmos version be available? And the answer to that is when Audible come up with a distribution system which can effectively send much bigger amounts of data in manageable form, which is something he believes they're working on right now. It's basically a big data thing. So as soon as they do, it's going to sound off the clock. I mean, it sounds off the clock now, but if you had literally a circle of 10 clocks, it's going to be off all of those when this thing comes out. So yeah, so thank you so much, Dirk, for responding to that, because that really helped. And so everyone didn't know what Audible 3D was. Now you do.
So I listen to audiobooks on most audiobooks. I listen to either on headphones or with my mobile phone on the counter while I'm doing the washing up. I think it's very important to make the point here that whereas when you're listening to Ben McIntyre's Cold It's, which we were a couple of weeks ago, you're listening to somebody telling you some facts in a row. And then you listen to those facts and ingest them. Listening to the Sandman series, you have to turn everything off. And you have to sit down and you have to listen if you're going to benefit from it. I think I had headphones on and was doing laundry folding or something the first time I listened to the Song of Orpheus. I felt I hadn't got a grasp on it enough. I then went last night and sat at my desk where I make radio programs and have two nice big tannoy speakers and an amp and a mixing desk. And I listened to it with the volume up. God knows what the neighbours thought. And it makes such a difference. And again, I'm saying I've listened to an audiobook twice in the same week. And the time where I concentrated, even though I'd heard it before, was so much better and so much worth doing it again. You don't listen to these things once. I am going to scrabble around looking for something else here, so forgive me if I sound a little distracted. But there was a chapter in Sandman Act 2, that I kind of listened to as a song, right? It's because it's so beautifully written. It's something that I can pick up and listen to over again. I think I said to Dirk that I liked it. Bear with me, caller. I'm just gonna press a button so I can find out what it's called.
Live research on Audiobook Club. Have you considered the Audiobook Club pension plan?
Episode 20. Oh, we should do that. We'll do recipe boxes next week and we'll do the pension plan afterwards. Hi. Do you feel that you're going to die and your family will be left with nothing? Right, no. So it's called episode 21, Distant Mirrors Ramadan. And I sometimes listen to that as I perform my toilet of a morning. And no, trust you.
It's like 1817.
Well, it is.
I engage in Congress on my toilet.
I must wax my moustaches. Well, of course it is. Here's a clip.
In the name of Allah, the Compassionate, the All-Merciful, I tell my tale. For there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his prophet. Know, then, that this is a tale of Baghdad, the heavenly city, the jewel of Arabia, and that this was in the time of Harun al-Rashid, King of kings, Prince of the faithful. There was no court that was like to Harun al-Rashid's. He had gathered to him all manner of great men from all corners of the world.
So, yeah, the sound on it is incredible and worth paying attention to. I think I'm probably missing out by not listening to it on a surround sound speaker with a TV where you had the speakers behind the sofa. Do people still have those, Steve?
Well, not me. That's where the car comes in handy. Because I do such long trips.
Yeah, and I don't have a car. I can't drive. Yeah, I should imagine it's even scarier when things are jumping out from behind you.
When you're back over here, we'll take a trip to Folkestone or somewhere nice, and we'll have a good old listen. And
we'll have you potted meat sandwiches.
When there was a scene with, I think it was Barnabas Barnabas the dog.
My favourite character.
Barnabas the dog was barking, and my dog barked in the back of the car because there are speakers in the boot, and the Audible 3D really sparked her off something chronic.
The dog was looking for another dog in the boot. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So I've got two things I want to talk about. I want to talk about what I would have asked Mr. Maggs, and I want to talk about trying to find out who the actor Barnabas was and the PDF. So first of all, Dirk Maggs, again, what I wanted to ask him, and a question that popped into my head this time was, okay, so I'm thinking graphic novels. He's got the graphic novel in front of him, and he's describing what he's seeing. And in my day job, because I work with a lot of people who have vision impairments, I'm aware of the concept of audio description. Audio description is not like subtitling. Subtitling, the words that come out of somebody's mouth pop up on the screen in words at the bottom of the screen. A computer can do that job. To describe a picture is very subjective. A picture paints 1,000 words, but actually, if you ask 3 different people to describe a picture in 1,000 words, you'll get totally different answers and perspectives on everything. The question I wanted to ask Dirk Maggs was, did he adapt the material from going back to the graphic novels, or was he, I should imagine that when Neil Gaiman wrote the graphic novels, he probably had to describe stuff for the artists to draw. And I don't know, as I said, I'm trying to take the source material really more seriously than I have done the last time, because I've been blinded by the lights, the cast, the production, the fact that this is the most expensively produced audiobook series ever, which we still haven't had confirmed. But I just want to know, how did he adapt the material? I wanted to focus on the bit where he wrote all this. Every word and sound effect you hear, Dirk Maggs has started with a blank piece of paper. He hasn't copied and pasted. So I wanted to acknowledge that part of the genius, and maybe he did mention Sandman 4 when he was on. So maybe we'll try and get him back at that point, and that will be the question I ask him.
I did put out a tentative sort of, come back any time sort of thing, without any pressure, because I knew he was really busy, and I emailed at like 7 o'clock in the half 7 this morning.
I know you're busy, but if you want to spend an hour talking to 2 numpties.
Talking to us.
Yeah, exactly.
Talking to 2 numpties.
I think we'll ask next year, shall we, Steve?
Yeah. Can I have a couple of side notes? Notes from the margin? Is that okay?
Yeah, as long as you let me get to hunting the actors and the PDF afterwards. What are your notes from the margin?
No, you do your list. You do your list.
Okay,
you started.
One of the games you play when reading or listening to the Sandman series, and has happened in 1 and 2, you go, I know that voice. And then you refer, or at the time, I referred to the internet, where lots of press releases had been done, and you could find full cast lists with every character. And I went, I knew that was Joe Pasquale, or doesn't Joanna Lumley sound nice? And you can confirm it by reading along. This time on the internet, there wasn't a readily accessible or available source for me to play my favourite Sandman game. And I have to say, the notion of the PDF that accompanies the book is not something I see. It's a button that's a bit hidden sometimes. And when I did open it up on my Android device, I got a blurred picture of 4 sheets of A4 in a row on the size of on a screen the size of a standard phone screen. And I couldn't zoom in, and the letters wouldn't come into focus. So number one, I think I have to remember that audiobooks sometimes come with PDFs. Eventually, I was able to go to the Audible website, and if you're listening to it on Audible, you can't find it there. You have to go into your library where all of your books are listed, and then go view PDF. So it's quite a convoluted process, and I won, and again, a drum I bang in my day job, and not particularly accessible. PDFs are notoriously unreadable by any screen readers, and a lot of people who listen to audiobooks have a vision impairment of some kind. So something needs to be done. I'm waving my fist with a sheaf of papers in it, going, please do better, Audible.
It's a fair point, actually, because it looks gorgeous, actually, the PDF with the cast list on it. It looks gorgeous, but it's not accessible, essentially, because it wasn't accessible to you.
Yeah.
And so there probably needs to be like a straight kind of text.
Look, I'm very grateful that they do that. I mean, all I pay for is an audiobook. The fact that there's bonus material in there is great, but I would like to be able to access it slightly more easily. And, you know, when I speak to people who can't see very well and they're applying for university, they go, this university is not ready for me because they've done everything bloody PDF and there are no screen readers who can read anything in PDF. So I would enjoy a slightly more... well, a little bit of effort so that we can have something to read or look at about the book if we need to refer to something. Barnabas the dog was the person who first drove me to try and look for who the actor playing that part was, and it took me half an hour. And then I went, that's my mate Jenny, that is.
No, your mate.
My mate Jenny, the lovely Jenny Runneker, actress of repute, plays Mary Cranby in this one. Oh. And I've had the privilege of producing, well, I grabbed the privilege of producing a radio show. This is my radio station. I don't care about the accounts or the sales. I'm going to produce an arts program with Derek Jarman's muse, Jenny Runneker, who I hope Dirk agrees with me that if you don't fall in love with Jenny Runneker when you're editing her voice, then there's something wrong with you. But yeah, no, it was really, really nice. I'll give her a bell, actually, see if she'll come on and talk about what the experience was like.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that'd be great. In that case, we're going to change our trip, by the way. We won't drive in the car, listen to Sandman to Folkestone. We'll go fairly close by. We'll go to Derek Jarman's cottage out on the... the name escapes me again. What is it with me and names in this recording, eh?
I don't care, but I just want to know, will I still get my potted meat sandwiches?
Yes, you will. The Romney Hythe and Dymchurch Railway goes through it, and I can't remember. It's the UK's only desert, and I literally the name escapes me. Anyway, come back to us.
I'll come back. What were your points? What were your notes from the margin?
Just a few things, really. So
just a few things.
Just a 16
Sirs.
things. Yeah, no, sir. So Orpheus is the Song of Orpheus, the actual song, when he goes into the underworld and pleads for Eurydice's life back, I thought was incredibly well done. The song was incredibly moving. He just tells the story, but singing it basically, but interspersed with Neil Gaiman's narration as to what's going on, and to all the spirits and everyone who's down in the underworld all pricking up their ears and listening to it and becoming engaged with it. That was great. That was just amazing.
I journey to this world below, to which all born as mortals must descend in time.
Orpheus stands between the thrones, in the cold below the earth.
I came to plead with you, great king, great queen.
Hades and Persephone look down with a strange ambivalence.
I sing an honest song, and I will tell the truth unvarnished and in my own way.
The ghosts are crying.
I came.
Now, there is a couple of Star Trek analogies that I got from this, and I'm sure that, I don't know if Neil Gaiman did get his inspiration from this necessarily.
It's mentioned in the final chapter. There's a bit where one of the characters goes, "This is all a bit Star Trek."
Oh, really? Oh, man, yes, of course. There's a few times, and I've heard this piece of music used before, I think, when there's something really desperate happening, like they're up against the clock to escape something or rescue themselves. There's a piece of music that sounded very much like it came from Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. It's not the exact music, but it was very sort of similar. It just reminded me when the Enterprise is in the Multara Nebula with the Reliant, Trekkie fans, I have watched some. There's this piece of music.
I don't know. Are you off your meds? Because about half an hour ago, you said I don't really know anything about Star Trek.
Yeah, I know. Suddenly this really niche fact came out. And the other niche fact was, or not niche fact, but something that reminded me was, and it was Brief Lives Part 3, where Morpheus and Delirium travel into the waking world because he needs to have his mind taken off from his love affair that went awry. So he takes off with Delirium to go and help find their brother. And they go into the real world and end up in a travel agent, and they're just sort of negotiating reception. And I don't think Mr. Farrell's in today. Can I take a message? He will see me. He knows who I am. I am.
Tell him we drank wine in Babylon. He says you had a drink with him somewhere called Babylon in it.
Mr. Farrell. But it very much reminded me of Kirk and Spock on Earth in Star Trek 4, when they had to come back to 1986 to rescue a couple of whales, and they end up in some minibus and having a chat and just doing sort of mundane things. And Mr. Scott's trying to talk to an very old computer via the mouse and that sort of thing. It was just very funny. I just really, really liked that little sort of pastiche there. So yeah, it was not. I do like it when these highfalutin characters, the endless, is just sitting in a waiting room in a travel agent's trying to wait for an appointment from who they did actually drink together in Babylon and so on. But yeah, it was nice. I like that.
I'm slightly worried that we've gone two middle-aged men talking about Star Trek, which seems to happen in both of the podcasts. I do. I need to stop it. We're at how many? We're at 48 minutes, Steve.
We got to stop.
You could whistle on for hours. We'll talk about this book more. We've made 4 shows about this, three podcasts and a video about this series of books, even though there are only 3 books. We enjoy talking about it. We'd love to hear from our gentle listener about what they thought of it. But I'm quickly going to say that start with number 1, do a little prep before you do it, and you're about to have a movie in your head, and it will convert you to audiobooks for life. If you use it as your free trial to join Audible and have the first experience of an audiobook, you'll be hooked on audiobooks for life. Well done, Audible. That was very clever. Thank you, Mr. Gaiman. A huge thank you, Mr. Maggs. I hope I've conveyed that I've tried harder to... the stuff I was talking about before, the sound of it, that's stuff that I can't do in my day job. And then I hadn't even thought about the writing and the adapting of the material, and I thought about it this time. And yeah, it's phenomenal. Movie for your mind, Steve.
Right then. So if our listener wants to play along with Audiobook Club, what should they be reading next, Mr. L?
Now this is a good one. We have a guest recommender again.
Oh, lovely.
You'll be glad to hear. What we're going to listen to is What Not to Do If You Turn Invisible. It's by Ross Welford, published by HarperCollins. It's about 8 hours long, and it's been recommended by my daughter Charlotte, who will be 11 on Monday, and she wants to come along and recommend an audiobook to us.
She's going to be on the pod, is she?
She's going to be on the pod.
On the pod. Lovely. That's great. Great news. Oh, brilliant. Well, it's good. We are getting some diversity on there.
There you go.
one for the kids, and it's not two middle-aged men. That's good news. Okay, fantastic. We'll look forward to that. The other thing we will talk about next week is Spiracle as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there are Challenger. There was an article in The Guardian last week about the Challenger platforms to Audible. So it's probably good for competition to have some plurality in the market there. So Spiracle is something we'll talk through next week. I signed up and started exploring. No app, just talking about there. Anyway, that was The Sandman, Act 3 by Neil Gaiman, adapted by Dirk Maggs, narrated by Neil Gaiman, James McAvoy, KJ Apper, Kat Dennings, Shruti Hassan, David Harewood, Regé-Jean Page, Kristen Schaal, Will Wheaton. The series is Sandman. It was book number 3. It comes in at 11 hours and 32 minutes, and it is out to download right now. And we are going to go out right now by ending this podcast because it has been exceptionally long, this one, hasn't it, Mr. Layton?
Yeah, thank you, Steve. Yes, it has.
See you next week. Ta-da.
Fall is all about cozy comforts, but when you're prioritizing your health, it's easy to feel like you're missing out. With Hero Bread, you can enjoy all your fall favorites because they're made with Hero Bread sliced bread loaves, tortillas, bagels, dinner rolls, and more. Try their all-new Hero Noodles with 12 grams of protein and just 80 calories. You won't believe Hero Bread's options have 0 to 5 grams net carbs and are high fiber from the taste and texture. They've even got small batch drops of indulgent favorites like the popular Hero Croissant. And right now, Hero Bread is offering 10% off your order. Go to hero.co and use code FALL25 at checkout. That's FALL25 at hero.co. All figures are per serving of Hero Bread. Contains 2 to 18 grams of fat per serving. See the product nutrition panels on hero.co for more information.